and I am an admission counselor here at CU Boulder. Typically, I work with students who are on the western slope of Colorado. I know there's a good number of you signed up, so if you're here, it's so nice to see you. I am going to go ahead and get started and go through our Common App walkthrough. We're hoping to do about maybe 15, 20 minutes or so, really going through the Common App, the different portions of it, what we're actually looking at in terms of the information you provide and all of that good stuff, and then have some time for questions that you might have. I know the application process is a very individualized process, but oftentimes with the Common App, a lot of students have very similar questions. So please chat Brittany, my co-host here, with any of those questions, and we should be able to get to them. So I am going to share my screen. Alrighty. Can we all see the lovely Common App? Yes. Perfect. Awesome. So this is the dashboard. I just really want to highlight first on the Common App. Common Application is this sort of third-party application that is really nice because there are hundreds of colleges that use the Common App. Not saying you should apply to 100 colleges, but you can. And even just in Colorado, I believe, is it 10 or 11? I think it's 11 schools are all on the Common Application, including all of the UC system that you can see right here. University of Denver, Western, Metro, Colorado College, all of that good stuff. So it's a really awesome application to work through. And even if you want to apply to schools outside of Colorado, there are many, many schools that take the Common Application as well. So on your dashboard, you will see all of these different tabs up here. Your dashboard is really going to house, show you all the schools that are sort of on your list, and then sort of the status of them. And some of them have different parts. So for example, Metro will show you your writing supplement and your application, or a lot of these will have just your application, because different schools require different things, even if they're all using this one application. And this is a great place to be able to check and see what different schools require. So really important, if you want to add schools onto your list, if you want to remove them, you can just click this red X here. But if you want to add schools, you can go to College Search. If anyone can pronounce this first university, props to you. I've been thinking about this a lot today. But you can search for like different terms, different states, no application fee, doesn't require essays, testing. So this can do a lot of the filtering for you, which can be super duper helpful. So we can just do, let's see, I grew up in California, so we're going to click on California. And we're going to apply for fall 2021. That narrows it down from 900 schools to 46. Still quite a lot. But you can very easily add any of these schools that you like. So we're going to add my hometown school. It's not here, but we'll add like University of San Diego. You just click add, perfect. And then when you go back to your dashboard, you're going to see it in alphabetical order right here. So really, really easy, really, really quick and simple. So there's a big difference between these two tabs, the My Colleges and the Common App. Each college that you apply to is going to have these two different sections. The Common App is going to be the bulk of the bulk of your application usually, and it's whatever information you put on here is going to go to every single school you apply to on the Common Application. So one common mistake that I usually see a lot, and we'll get to later, is in the writing section. You get to write your personal statement and essay. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen essays where students will write, CSU is my dream school, go Rams, which great if you love CSU, totally fine. but I don't know if people at CU Boulder, CU Denver, and other schools necessarily want to read that as well. So between these two tabs, it's a really great way to sort of visually see, okay, anything I put in this tab is going to go to every school I apply to, and anything that's in this tab goes directly to that school and that school only. So a lot of information on the Common App, they're going to ask you a good amount of personal information, and it can feel a little bit weird because we ask like where you were born, where your parents went to school, if they did, all of that stuff. And keep in mind that we're not necessarily evaluating you on those answers. We're really just trying to get background information on who you are, as well as help with our own data that's going to come into play, like if you choose to enroll and all of that good stuff. So we're going to ask you to put in your name, any other names. Keep in mind, we do ask for your sex, but you are allowed to share your gender identity below if it is different than your sex assigned at birth. After that, we are going to, there are a lot of these different tabs that are really just to get information about who you are. For example, there is demographics where we can ask about your religious, your armed force status. These we don't really look at all or play into effect. It's just to get to know a little bit more of your background. Let me see. We will look at where you were born. Really helpful, does not play into your residency at all or like Colorado state tuition or anything along those lines. So don't sweat if you were like born in Utah and now live in Colorado, totally fine. Common question that we get asked is citizenship. So Common App and the university does not report anything that you put in terms of citizenship. So it is totally like confidential and up to you what you end up reporting on this citizenship question. And if you, most commonly, you'll put that you're a US citizen, and then we'll ask for your social security number. However, if you are not a US citizen and an undocumented student, you will ask, you'll say other non-US, you will list nothing for citizenship, or Brittany, what's the thing you list again?
Yeah, so you would just put whatever country you hold citizenship in.
Okay, yeah, so that could be, we'll do American Samoa. And then do you currently hold a valid US visa? You would select no. And then this says, do you intend to apply for a new or different US visa? And by saying no, that is how we can sort of understand your citizenship status and all of that. And we will not be reporting anything. So helpful for those of you who have questions about that at all. Next, there are two different places where you can apply for fee waivers. So for example, today you get a fee waiver for attending our workshop. That is just for CU Boulder. When you look at this Common App fee waiver section for the Common App, this will be for any school. So if you believe you qualify, you can click yes, and then you'll have all of these different answers to choose from. And these will usually, some of these will need a counselor, like your school counselor, to verify. Very easy process to do so, but easy to do that. And then this will, if you have one of these fee waivers, you should be able to apply to any school on the Common App for free. Whereas in using our CU Boulder fee waiver today, Brittany will show you where to put that in later. So going beyond your profile information, we will also need your parent status in terms of their marital status, what jobs they have, and where they went to school. This can just be helpful background knowledge, especially, you know, if any of your parents went to CU Boulder, we can look at you for legacy things. If none of your parents attended college, it's an indicator to us that you might be a first-gen student. So it just provides those helpful answers there. For education, we will ask you to put in your high school, all of that good stuff. The big thing I want to note is colleges and universities. If you have taken any coursework at a local community college or other online school, please, please, please put that in. It is super helpful for us. We love to see that you're excelling in college coursework. And that's not just a CU Boulder thing, that's an everyone thing. So you can click dual enrollment in high school, summer program, whatever that may look like. And then we technically won't require your transcript in the fall when you apply. However, if you have significant coursework at a college or university, please submit it. Let me see. We will ask for different things like your graduating class size, and then these are optional. Your GPA scale reporting and your self-reported GPA. Usually we'll just look at your transcript for that. So I know sometimes students will accidentally put typos in here, other things. We really primarily go off of your transcript. So if you want to leave this blank, that's totally fine. If you want to fill it in, also great. But your transcript will definitely be the primary document that we look at in terms of grades and coursework and all of that. And the same goes for, you know, talking about the different classes that you've taken. Really important to list if they have been AP, honors, IB. Who knew there were all of these different types of honors courses? But really important to note. And these are just for your current classes that you're taking. So you don't need to enter in all 4 years, every single class you've ever taken. Please don't. That would take so long. Alrighty. So then something I really want to harp on is testing. At CU Boulder specifically, we do not look at things like AP tests, SAT subject tests, IB testing. So you do not need to report any of those. If you decide you want to come to CU Boulder and get credit for those, you can feel free to send us your AP tests whenever you like, and we'll give you credit for those if you get a good enough score. But you have the option to self-report either your ACT or SAT here. And this will look slightly different depending on the schools, but CU Boulder actually, since we are test optional, we have a place where we ask you in our own section if you want to report your tests. And it doesn't matter what you do here. If you enter in your SATs and then say, oh, and see, I don't know if I want CU Boulder to look at my tests, then we won't look at this section. So really important information to know. But they are looking for, you know, your highest scores, entering in all of the broken out scores and all of that stuff, because some schools like CU Boulder will super score and just take the best of each section that you have done. Activities list is pretty self-explanatory. I just really want to emphasize that there are a lot of different choices you can choose for an activity. And I know activities really took a hit this year. I don't expect you to have like taken your basketball team to the state championship this spring or summer, because that didn't happen, and that's okay. But we want to know all the activities you've done over 4 years. And that can be structured things like, you know, student government, different clubs, work that you've had, internships or summer programs that you've done, but also like maybe you found some really interesting new hobbies throughout this pandemic. Maybe you took care of your siblings while your parents were working from home, or you got really into baking and that's become a really big activity for you. Those are things we want to know about as well, and really just get a fuller picture of who you are. They'll ask you for sort of the duration of things, when you participated, and if you intend to do this in college. We're not going to hold you to it that like you will play basketball if you said you want to on the Common application. It's just more out of interest. And then for the writing, it is important to note that not all schools require you to submit this essay. You can submit it if you want, At CU Boulder, we do require you to submit that essay. So we will be reading it if you submit it. Hence, please don't talk about CSU. So with the Common App, there are sort of these open-ended questions. You can even do a prompt of your own idea and then put it in here. So pretty straightforward. We have a whole separate workshop going on right now about that essay, but want to highlight there are two other places to showcase your writing and extenuating circumstances as well. You can, there is a COVID-19 specific prompt to talk about anything you've experienced in relation to the pandemic and recession. And then there's also just an additional information. Students will often use this to talk about, they moved high schools, something happened in their family unit that really disrupted their learning process or their academic journey. It's really your space to sort of fill in any blanks you think are on your application. So this was a very quick overview of the Common App. I'll just to drive it home, all of this stuff will go to every school you apply to. And then we are going to move over to the colleges tab, and that's where Brittany will take over and show us the CU Boulder section.
Okay, great. So I will go ahead and share my screen here so we can talk through the CU Boulder specific piece of the Common App. So is everybody able to see that? Not okay, perfect. Okay, again, there's these tabs up here at the top. We were on Common App. Now we're going to specifically My Colleges. Down here on the left-hand side, you want to make sure that if you're working on your CU Boulder application, you're specifically selecting the CU Boulder tab. And then this is where you will see everything that is specific to CU Boulder that you need to complete. A tip on just the Common Application in general, a section is done when it has a green check mark next to it. So if there's not a green check mark next to it, it's not going to let you submit. That means there's still something that you need to complete. So here's just kind of the general information page specifically about CU Boulder. That's this college information link here. This is where you can see a reminder about our deadlines, different things like that, things that we require additional information. So this is always a helpful reference to come back to. And again, you can do that with every single college. And then some of the questions that we get into that are, again, specific to CU Boulder. So if you click on questions here, this is where you will actually put the term that you're applying to. So fall 2021, for example, if you're applying early action or regular decision. Again, it's early enough now. We recommend that you do early action. That way you can work towards getting a decision sooner from us. And then this is where you would put in your specific fee waiver, application fee waiver. So from today, so you would select this other, you'll have a fee waiver, and then you'll put in the specific fee waiver code. So that is where you would put that information. Then you'll hit continue, and then let's see, a couple other questions here. This is where you will select your intended major, ask you some additional information about that. There is some residency questions that it'll ask you here. So this helps us determine and tease out, are you a Colorado resident? Are you not a Colorado resident? So for tuition purposes, so those are just some additional questions that you will answer. And then this section, really important. This is just kind of other information. It's just kind of a catch-all section to answer additional questions that we have. So a couple of other questions here. And then down at the very bottom, this is where you will see the question about CU Boulder being test optional. So this has started to really confuse students so far that have already submitted, because as Aviva pointed out, there in the Common App general part of the application, you have the opportunity there to self-report your test scores. But this is where you will actually tell us if you want us to use them or not. So if you say, yes, I want to submit test scores, then whatever you self-reported, or if there's another way that you send us test scores, then we'll know to use them. If you say no, then even if you self-reported your scores or sent us scores in some other way in the other section, then we won't use them. So that oftentimes can confuse students. So again, as Camilla said earlier, when in doubt, submit without. We are really de-emphasizing the use of test scores in the admissions process this year, even if you submit them. So if you have them, if you feel good about them, you're welcome to do so. But if not, you really don't need to worry about it. Just go ahead and submit without. And then another question or another section that is often confusing to students sometimes, and there was a question that already came up about this in the chat. There's this section here that asks you to identify or kind of self-report if you have met certain academic credits already throughout high school. So this whole section in general, my advice is to do the best you can to fill it out. It's okay if it isn't completely accurate, if you're not sure how to answer it, just take your best guess, because what we're going to do is actually look at your transcript and do an evaluation and make sure that you are, have met all the requirements that you need to be on track academically for CU Boulder, and to make sure that you're well set up to be successful here. So let's see, a common question. Have you taken at least one unit? So, 1 year of geography. If you're not sure if your history class counts towards that, just take your best guess and know that this is not going to really impact you at all in the admissions process, because that evaluation really comes after you're admitted. So just fill this out to the best of your ability, and know that it's not going to matter too much. This is also a common question from students. If you have not taken through the 3rd level of a single foreign language, you can just answer that no. Again, it's okay, and we're not really using this too much in the admissions review process. Okay, just a couple minutes here. Want to get through before we have time for a couple questions at the end. Recommenders and FERPA. So this is where you will invite your teacher or counselor recommenders to fill out a recommendation on your behalf. As long as you have invited a recommender, then you're good. So even if your teacher or counselor, whoever you're inviting, doesn't submit, right at that time, you can still submit your application. That's still going to come through to us. So that is completely okay. Some schools use Naviance, and so if you're seeing this message, then that just means there's kind of a separate process that your school has for submitting that information to us. So don't get confused by that. You'll see there are green check marks here, so that means you're good to go. This FERPA release authorization, what this is basically asking you is, are you okay with your recommenders submitting recommendation letters and all of that on your behalf without you asking to see them beforehand? We generally recommend, yes, waiving your rights to see those letters. For different schools, there are different requirements around that. Some schools will ask you to waive your rights. We just generally encourage it. So that's really what that's asking, and it's a way that allows your recommenders to be able to be open and honest about you. If you're choosing the right person to write your recommendation letter, they're going to write wonderful things anyway. So in general, we do recommend waiving that. And then last 2 things here. So this is a section that an area that we see a lot of confusion with for students, but because for CU Boulder, we require your Common App, so that has to be submitted to us. And then there is the second different CU Boulder essay. So this is your writing supplement. So you'll see different topic than the Common App. This is where you can write about how you want to contribute to CU Boulder. This is where you can put all of that. You'll have to submit this essay separately from the Common application. So it will feel like you are submitting your application twice when you go to do so. So right here, once all of this is green, you'll review and submit your Common application. Obviously, this is just a test account, so none of these things are completely filled out. But when you're ready to go, it'll allow you to submit. You'll walk through those steps. And then you'll need to come back once you have put your second essay in here, and you feel good about that. Then you'll go to review and submit, and you'll do it a second time. And that is so you can submit your Common App as well as your writing supplement to CU Boulder. So if you don't submit both of those, then your application is incomplete. It'll show incomplete on your status page. You'll get a lot of reminders about it, but just want to be clear about why you see that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I know we have just a couple of minutes here. There were a few other questions that came through in the chat, so I will go ahead and address those. Okay, so there was a question about I have my GED, don't have a specific counselor or teacher, so who do I put in for those recommenders? So so there's a couple different ways that you can submit letters of recommendation to us. You can either do that through the Common App. It may kind of require you to put in some information there, like you may still have to put in your school counselor information. But if you have a different recommender, so in this case, if you have maybe an employer or somebody else that you want to submit a letter on your behalf, they can just email that to us, and that is completely fine to do that. You just have to be able to check off the green check marks in Common App, but we'll take documents in a number of other ways. It doesn't all have to come through there. Okay, and then a general question, Aviva, I'll defer this one to you. Do you recommend students apply early action or regular decision?
Yeah, that's a great question. So usually we really recommend you applying early action. One way that I think this is really helpful, you get your decision earlier by February 1st. So it's always nice to have your decision earlier and, have that acceptance sort of tucked in your back pocket for the rest of the spring. But Very helpful, especially because our scholarship application, most of those scholarship applications for CU Boulder are due in February or March, and it keeps you much more motivated to apply for scholarships if you know you've already been accepted than applying regular decision, not knowing your status, but still applying for scholarships at CU. So that's usually my best recommendation. So you still have like 2-3 more weeks to be able to do it, early action, and please do it.
All right. Another question, Aviva, that came through for the CU application. We know there's the resume or activities list. There's the activities list section. So should we also submit a separate resume, or do you use both? What's your recommendation there?
It is totally up to you. So you can submit a resume to CU Boulder on your application status page or email it to your admission counselor. Most of the time, students will usually do one or the other. The activities list is super comprehensive and allows you to do that really easily. And then the resume can sometimes be helpful if you have more work experience or just like provide a little bit more answers to your activities. So completely up to you. And then going back, I just got a question about the admission rate for early action and regular decision. There is no difference. So you don't need to worry about the admission rate changing based off of which time you apply. It's the same.
So I got a question about if you, are you early action just based on when you apply, or do you have to actually select that in your application? We really go by the date that you apply. So if you're applying now, go ahead and select early action. And then if you're complete by that date, we'll make sure to get your decision by February 1st. If you select early action and then end up, not completing until January 15th, we'll consider you regular decision at that time. Okay, and then can you update your application after you submit it?
So somewhat. If you edit your Common Application after you've already submitted it, we won't see those changes. However, you can email your counselor directly with any changes that you have, and we'll be able to manually add that to your file. So I know, maybe you had a bump in grade, or you got promoted from like vice president to president of student government. Any of those updates you can send to our counselors directly. And on that note, I am the counselor for the Western Slope, but I know that we have students from all over Colorado. So I just want to put in the link our Find Our Counselor tool. So if you want to get in touch with any of us for any more questions about this application, it's our job to help you with this application and help you put your best foot forward. So please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us with any questions you may have. I know we are running low on time, and I want to respect and honor that we're all on our weekends right now, but thank you so much for attending this workshop. It means a lot. Look out for an email coming your way that will have a survey for you to complete about this event, as well as it will have a link and more information on your application fee waiver. So we did show you like exactly how to put that in, but if it's still, if you have any questions about that, please do not hesitate to reach out. So once again, thank you so much to everyone for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and go Buffs!